come to mind. And then the roof, the corrugated roof, where it's gone rusty, and then into this beautiful, beautiful farmyard. There they are. Good morning. And I want to be able to use it on a pot, on a bowl, some way, incorporate it, because I like to use the things that I love, and this is one of the things that I love. I've been, this is an Amazon packing case, ripped up, well soaked, actually soaked in the bath and then separated, so it's just one sort of slightly flattened length of corrugated cardboard, of which I've got lots obviously. This is a lovely old terracotta flower pot, and I am thinking I want to use this as a sort of basic size in order to wrap this around, but not until I have painted it with some white gesso. It's like this. So I want it to be quite immediate and quite rough. And then I'll leave that to dry, and I'll go all the way up this length. And then when I've finished it, what I'm vaguely thinking about is layering on some of these pieces that are left over from the lichen bowl. I mean, I've got lots, but I particularly like this one actually. So I think that's the one that's going to be layered in sections. It's very exciting. Okie dokie, here I go. Strips of Amazon packing, or any cardboard box really, but I sort of allowed the top layer, that very smooth layer, like that, to lift off by soaking it in water and then just peeling it back. So I'm left with the inner corrugated bit, which is lovely. And I've just given it a coat on each side of, this is a white gesso. Oh gosh, the label's off. Oh no, it's Graduate. Dale Rowney Graduate Gesso White Primer. And it's very chalky and very dry and very matte, and just exactly what I want. So this flower pot, I reckon the diameter is the size of the first base I want to work with. So I'm just going to get the size of it here, approximate to there, and think to myself, okay, that's going to make the base like that. So I want to be able to start putting these pieces here, which I've now got some glue. So I'm just going to put glue along here. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Glue along here and start to stick in my first piece there. And I want to push that in with a dry brush. I haven't really got a big one, but I'll use this. And then I shall just work my way along. No, I'm not going to leave. I was going to leave little bits of white, but I'm not. It's going to be white appearing anyway. So I'll just let it get soaked in like that, and try and bring it so that it matches a little bit, perhaps. So you bring that into there. And it looks really, really lovely. Now I dare say when I put on my video, make a papier-mâché bowl, I've been making papier-mâché for somewhere between 30 and 40 years. Avidly and lovingly and devotedly. I absolutely adore the medium and the possibilities. You can see this is looking fantastic. And then I've got my paintbrush loaded up with glue, so just want to make sure I've got plenty as I go along here. And then we're going to go onto this one, I think. And possibly that one, although I'm not so sure if that fits in. So I've got some more here. I think I might just go for this end here. And although I like that, I do like that. So maybe I can just go straight across here with this. That does kind of work. You probably can't see this end. I'm just putting some glue at the far end. I'll show you as I get up that way. And I'm just going to push it back down with a dry brush as much as I can into the corrugations. Oh, I think this is so beautiful. I know it's going to look fantastic. And I've got a series of flower pots. That was the largest one. Then there's a couple of smaller ones, slightly different in size, and a small one. And I do have even smaller ones, but I don't quite see the point of doing the very smallest one, although I might quite easily. There, and I think that's lovely. And so that leaves this tip there. And this, I will let it dry now. Shall I let it dry? Shall I put it round? No, I want to let it dry, and then I'll form it round that. I mean, that doesn't have to be the base by any means. I'm not going to make a cylindrical shape. It's going to be much more vertical. And I want to hold it together with staples, but rivets or something. I might make papier-mâché rivets. There we go. I'm just going to divide this a bit, I think. I quite like that top bit, so. So that one can be maybe like that. I was thinking of it fitting it around that diameter like that. Yes, something like that. So it only needs, in fact, yeah, I'll do that one. I'll do it in the same paint. I'm going to do it like that. You probably can't see that. So back to the glue. Sorry. Gluing down. I actually think I got some gesso mixed in with this glue, PVA glue, which is a really clever sort of happenstance really, because I intended to do it and forgot, because it makes it white, obviously. I think I might, I know it, I'm just going to put that on there like that. So we've got that band at the bottom. And again, just push it into the grooves. I think the corrugations emphasise the rhythm and the pattern of the brushstrokes and the inks and the way it's all kind of dispersed. I've used a water-soluble Robeson gold paint. It's so beautiful. It really does look like gold. Not as shiny as leaf, but very, very nice, and not that sort of plasticky yellow that often acrylic has. And then there are sprinklings of metallic powder as well, which are really beautiful. And I'm going to put this one here. Leave a gap. And that will be where it will cross over. So that's okay. So this is my drying cabinet, and this is where I just hang it to dry now. So it's drying on top of a silicone mat, and this is another one here just drying on top of a silicone mat. This is dried beautifully, in fact, and now I'm going to think about putting size again in certain areas to enhance the colours that I want to bring out. But first of all, I'm going to reinforce the back with tissue paper. It's a delicate reinforcement really, but I know that when I put it into a circle and hold it together and put the base on, I want the outside to be as you've seen, but I want the inside to I say possibly because it's all evolving in my mind, to have silver or copper or gold, or maybe each of the three vessels can have one of each, copper, silver, gold. Anyway, I'm going to start off with putting the glue on quite thickly. I'll just start back there where you can't see it. I actually need to get a taller tripod, I think, so that I've got a more of a bird's eye view, because it's quite close, this one. I haven't been making YouTube videos for a year, and all my equipment is still packed away in storage, so I've got to go and get that. But here we go. Now let's have a go. So I'm kind of building up a story, if you like. That's how I see it. And anything can be cut off or trimmed down later. I want it to be thin, like porcelain. And I'm considering, when I've built up a few layers of tissue paper and it's dry, to use a polycell or polyfiller and smear it along just before I wrap it round the vessel to get the shape, and I'll put plastic, like a plastic bag or something, or cling film in between, so it acts as release. And yeah, I can see the development. I've done so many pots over so many years in so many different ways, so that once I start going down a little road, which started with the back of that gravestone, memories seem to throw up lots of ways of doing things that I've half shelved and half forgotten about, but somehow in the imagination they kind of link up and make friends, and they come out and present themselves as something completely new, and I've just got to try them out. This is a very long piece of corrugated cardboard to work on, so I have to do it in 2 stages over the edge of this table. There we go, and then so I'll drape this over the cabinet door again and let it dry out. I'm really tempted to start putting stuff like that down now, but I'm going to leave it until I've built up another layer, because I'm trying to work out just quite how stiff I want that. And I think that's coming on beautifully, but I want to stiffen up the side bits as well. So I'm just going to get some tissue paper and glue it onto, mainly I'm going to build up the side bits, not so much the centre. So I'll just give it a coat of glue all over. Obviously these side bits, they haven't been, when I start off a painting to make this sort of work, I always put PVA glue on one side, let it dry, and then turn over and paint on the top side. the matte side. This is just regular tissue paper and it just falls apart. So I'm not going to do anything with that. So I buy tissue paper by the ream and use lots of it. It lasts a long time as well. Particularly want to get this side built up. So you can do a few layers of this first. These are the lovely thing about papier-mâché is that these are the sorts of jobs that you can do between other projects, and even, you know, I shall go out and do some shopping in a bit and I'll just leave this to dry, and then when I've got this to look forward to when I get back in later and take it on to the next stage. Plus I also love making videos for YouTube, and I'm very excited now to be getting back into doing that. I've done it for years, virtually since YouTube first came out, but very sort of amateurishly. And I'm still, well, I'm not an amateur anymore, but I'm doing it purely for the love of making, discovery and teaching. The bowls themselves will and can sell for lots of money, but I also like to keep loads of them around the house. And I don't work to commission unless it's something that really takes my fancy, which probably, well, hardly ever happens. I like to follow my own inclination. This is my first corrugated bowl I'm making, that's following on from the lichen bowl. You see, I'm calling it lichen now, not lichen. I realise that lichen is something I grew up with in my childhood in the north of England, so it's just a leftover affectionate term. Now, there's lots of things to do here. I've got this blank pot here, which originally was going to be sort of tucked away there, but I'm not sure if I need it actually now. So I'm thinking what I'll do is take that off there, like that, for which I will use shall I take off? Yeah, I'll take it off there. I'll take it off there. There. So that's something I can use now. I'm thinking what I can do with this is cut it down the middle and use it to make two small bowls. I think that will be really nice. That's kind of halfway there now. So what I want to do with this is going to be the upper edge. So I'm inclined to tear this so that I want to tear it so I don't tear it all off. I'm just going to snip it along the edge all the way, basically using my thumbnail so that I got an irregular and more interesting look. But there it goes, smooth. So that might actually get taken down a bit like that. I really like the undulating part of it. That's better. These videos on YouTube, I tend to let them be in real time as much as I possibly can. Obviously some processes, like layering on the back of the tissue paper, is just a question of repeat, repeat, repeat. But often when I'm doing this, I think of things that might be of interest to say about learning and everything about doing this incredible craft, really. Well, now, shall I leave that? You see, that's sort of contrasty there. I quite like it. I'll leave that. And these bits, so I will save, because it's amazing how they come in certain places later. You know, you can just put them on there. I love all these little tiny bits that just get added. And then I'm going to leave the bottom bit like that? Or am I going to cut it with scissors? See, I just love that, but I think that's a bit of an indulgence, really, because this is pretty well got to be more or less straight. But I'll leave it till the end. And maybe when I make the base, maybe I can just make that sort of a little bit irregular. I'm holding on to this part for the time being, reluctantly, because it will come over here like that, and then that will just get torn across. But I need to do something with that, I think. It's a little bit too stark. So I'm thinking what I will do now is actually put some white paint in certain places, and that can also have some white paint, but also some glue. So this softer brush and a wedge of white gesso, and then I'll just sort of get most of it off here, but I just want to rim it along. That's it. Like that. I might put some along here, just on the edge of this. I usually do this actually because it kind of builds up quite a ceramic-like layer there, which can be nice. And because it's an acrylic gesso, it's somewhat flexible, which helps. And then quite like it just like that. And then this part, I'm going to put much more of that white there. Okie dokie, so it's now changed a little bit, and maybe I want a little bit up here too. Probably can't see there, I'm just thinking. That's it. That'll do. Now I'll put it in the drying cabinet for a little bit. In between jobs, every time I have a spare moment, I will paint up some of these pieces. Some of them will get left, you know, rough on one side and painted more on the others. And I find with these Amazon packaging, the cardboard must be pre-scored for when they're in production, because it means then that they can fold over boxes wherever they like. And that's how I get this nice straight edge, because if I put a ruler next to where I can see the perforations and tear, you get this nice straight edge along one side. That's where it should have been done, but I chose to go rogue there and go off off piece to bits and do it that way. So I've got lots and lots of these. Plus these are some of, I got this on an earlier video where I made papier-mâché board, which I use for bending and making moulds for future papier-mâché bowls, and I can make different shapes. I also use them for painting on. These are just 4 little bits that have been left over, which I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet. I've got a vague idea. I do wildflower abstracted paintings, they might go on that. But I think I'll just stick them all on one side and come back to all that later. This little anomaly, I'm just going to cut down the centre for now and see what I will do. So I think that can work quite nicely. That is just a cylinder, but if I wanted to, I could do it sort of arrange to do it that way, so it's narrow at the bottom, or vice versa. Sort of, yeah, narrow at the bottom and splaying out. But that just takes a little bit more cutting. It's like dressmaking. So that's one, which I can give another coat of gesso to. Once you get on a roll, you just sort of, your mind comes up with lots of ideas. It's a good idea to keep a notepad by the side to write ideas on. I'm quite focused at the moment and I know where I'm going, so I'm okay on that for now. But it gives it more like a sort of ceramic-y glaze look. Good. This was the second one I started, the smaller one. So this I'm actually going to cut straight along this corrugation edge here. That will have a use. And here I'm going to tear it actually. Using a ruler for a straight edge is a nice thing to do. I'm going to go slightly at an angle there. It gives you a nice cut which has got a decal edge, which I particularly like. That will be used for something. And there. It can go over like that, or it can go like that. I haven't decided yet. Anyway, this one can have two things going on. I can put some size on it and add some more metallic, and then I can put some white gesso along the edge, maybe. I like to use brushes for all sorts of things, and the older they get, the better effects I get. Then I've got separate brushes which are used for the kind of things that you want to just have perfectly pointed, beautiful brushes, and those I use for different jobs. So size, which I think I don't want to think too much about it actually, but I'm going to do something along here just to link that bottom to the top, and then I just want to do some bits here, and I want to bring this up into here too, this kind of elephant skin look. And I'll do something down here because I'm not sure actually which part is going to be the wrap over at this stage, so if I put something there it gives me at least a choice. I put my size, which I buy in large quantities, like that. I put it into paper cups, and if I put enough in there like I did yesterday, I can leave it to evaporate a bit overnight. Then when you get it at it to work with the next morning, it's thicker, and you can do a kind of semi-relief gilding then, or you can just water it down with water and have it very fluid if you wish. So now that brush is going to be there, and this will go and dry. This only takes about 15 minutes, and then I can come back and do something with it. Next I'm going to highlight some of these areas which I have put size down on before I shape the bowl. So a little bit of copper just rubbed in here and there. Doesn't need to be very much. Not quite sure where it is actually. There's a slight sheen that I can see. You can see a sort of shimmer and a shine, and if you get it in the light. I remember putting the white on. I don't remember putting any more size on this one, but I do remember putting some size on this, yes. So, like I say, there's no map and there's no recipe. You just kind of learn as you go. And each time it's a new journey. However, this one does have on the size which has gone tacky. So I'm going to put a little bit of this one on, which is called Antique Copper, but it's really, really rosy red as well. So any areas where I think there might be some red, that can go in there. Doesn't have to be very much. Maybe a flush along there and some along there. Then I'm going to go into the gold, which is just pale gold. You can put this powder on the size whilst it's still quite wet actually. And then the next one is another copper. Oh, it's bronze. Well, it says bronzing powder. Actually, whatever it was has gone. This is a deeper red. And one more, which is a different tone of copper. It will only stay where the size is. So actually I think there's quite a bit of size here. Which I can paint into and onto. There's some over there too. Often things are guidelines for something else, and the guidelines just keep on appearing. So that's nice, and I think I will add some more. I do have a sort of Payne's grey, which is what I started off with. I'm going to leave that out for now. Burnt umber. I love Payne's grey. I think I'm going to have to put some in. I can't resist it really. But I'll put it on top of some burnt umber. Yeah, a little bit of Payne's grey. It's got a lovely bluish tone to it, which will go well where the black was. But it might not show up until it's actually in the light. Whew, looks nice. I think I'm going to leave that for now because it's quite intense, and then it'll get brushed out